Which earlier stream? The one, the Lutherans and their lies? It was actually a pretty good one. The just chatting one with Richard, that was an interesting one too. Boker Tov, young Levite. I don't know if you saw, but there is a possibility that Coronius Focus will be on the board of directors of our new organization. And Coronius Focus is the person I am very, very excited to have involved. So Coronius Focus, he has a channel. Where is my discussion with him? Can't find my discussion with him. There it is. His name is Brent. It was a pretty good discussion I had with him. Yes, it is true. He is he is interested in supporting the project. He liked it, and he may he and his wife may join the board of directors. He is one of the smartest and most capable people I have ever encountered in my entire life. He is one of the smartest and most capable beings I have ever encountered in my entire life. Sandy!
Hey, Jacob.
What watch am I wearing? This is a watch my mother gave me many, many years ago. It's a Raymond Whale watch, and the uh, price of it is far, far, far about 10 times as much as I would ever spend on a watch. But my mom worked in the jewelry department at Bloomingdale's and she got it as a thing and she gave it to me. So I wear a very, very expensive watch. Although, honestly, I'm not sure it's worth stealing, but yeah. When she first gave it to me, I was like, "Mom, this watch is worth more than my life. Somebody'll kill me for it." But nobody ever did. And now it's been like 10 years, and I'm not sure these watches are worth what they used to be 10 years ago. I mean, do watches lose value?
I hear eventually they lose time.
This is a very good watch. I mean, I think it's meant to be like an heirloom quality watch that you could give to your kids. I'm trying to see if how much one of these watches goes for these days. I know the reason they gave it to my mother is um, it doesn't actually sell for the price that they wanted, so they just gave it to my mom. Uh so it's available on, but it won't say how much it is. Um
You do realize if your mother gave it to you, regardless of what Bloomingdale's thinks, it's actually priceless.
it is actually priceless, but she she told me if you can sell it, try selling it, and I tried selling it and somebody offered me $400 for it and I tried to sell it to them and they didn't actually follow through and give me the $400. So my mom would have actually been very happy to hear that this watch was uh, sold for that much, but it didn't because the person never actually paid. Yeah, so supposedly the retail price on this watch is $1,000, and it's like I would never spend $1,000 on this watch, but it is what it is. And it was really expensive when I had to change the because I needed to change the what you call it. I had to spend $50 to change the what's the name of it? That thing, you know what I mean?
Are you talking about a clasp or a battery? Two key
No, I'm
elements
talking
of the watch.
well the clasp, but you had to change the entire whatchamacallit.
Oh, the
Yeah.
band?
Yeah, you have to change the entire band to change the clasp.
So is this akin to buying a cost-effective electric car, which costs you $25,000 to change the battery?
Kind of, but I mean, was it 50? It was like, yeah, it's a bracelet. Like the band is actually like a bracelet, and I mean, it's nice and everything, but like, yeah, but frankly, there's no way I would even spend $200 buying this. But now that I own it, I, I think it ended up costing me $75 to get the bracelet changed. And it's
Mhm.
like $75. I'll just buy a new watch.
You can get one that works just as good for 10 to 20 bucks some places.
Yeah, I mean it's nice, and the fact that it's like a Bloomingdale's watch means I can wear it anywhere, and it's like it's still like nobody's gonna look at me like, why are you wearing a plastic, Walmart watch? But
Yep.
it there's a reason they gave it to my mother as a whatchamacallit. It wasn't selling. So like if somebody's thinking of beating me up for my watch and trying to sell it, couldn't even sell it for $400 when it was new in the packaging. So sorry. It does work, and it has been working. How long have I had this watch? I've had this watch a good 10 years now.
That's a good length of time.
Yeah, and I've only had to change the batteries and and uh and one time had to change the bracelet.
That's not
So
bad
how
at
have
all.
you been, Sandy?
I'm good.
Good is good.
Yeah, I'm good. I was supposedly cleaning house today, but spent a lot more time listening to YouTube.
You can listen to YouTube while you're cleaning house.
This is true. I did turn it up while doing dishes and quiet things, but it's a little, I think the neighbors would complain if I turned it up loud enough to hear over vacuuming and things like that.
Well, that's when you get headphones.
Oh, those. Yeah.
What's wrong with wearing a Walmart watch? Well, it has the same problem as hi Jason. It has the same problem as I could buy glasses that look just the same, right? It's like it doesn't help me if they're fashionable glasses. I don't care what they look like. But like when how you present yourself matters. So, yes, when you go on a date, don't wear a Walmart watch. When you go on a business interview, don't wear a Walmart watch if you can afford it. You can borrow my watch if you need to. Uh, Jason says it's good to see both your faces. I
Me
hope
too.
your sister had a happy birthday. Mitch said the baby was born, which means he's probably not going to be able to make the Bible studies very often, but he's going to try.
I was going to ask you about those.
What were you going to ask me about those?
Have you started the time change or have you not yet? And if not, when?
Yeah, Jason. I think in January we're going to start doing them on Wednesdays. And are we going to have one on the 29th? I mean, the 28th is next Wednesday, or the 27th, which is next Tuesday. I don't know. It's up to Jason. He's the one who controls the Bible studies. He's the one who knows all the Hebrew.
Are they still staying at the same time? Different day, same time.
Yeah, I think 6 to 8 my time is what we've been doing.
Yep.
Says I'm on my way right now. I'll get on and way home right now. I'll get on and we can do a Bible study. Oh, okay. We can do a Bible study.
That's always good. I had a question for you. I don't really
I have
put
a
my
really bad answer for you. What's your
you might
question?
have an answer. Somewhere in the massive videos I was listening to, or a combination of videos that I was listening to, I wrote it down in my notes earlier. You were talking about top down and bottom up in relation to something, or somebody else was in relation to something, and it reminded that face, yeah. Like I said, I'm not sure what the question is, but I would like to in sometime in the next month know what you were talking about with there, because and I'll find my question where I wrote it.
Okay.
'Cause
Yeah, I'm having a conversation with Rabbi Malot next Monday. It is going to be live streamed, and he's going to try to give us 2 hours, although he's a very busy man. So, and then the next day, I am going to be speaking to Derek, who is a narrative therapist, and he has a podcast, All Things Narrative.
that was one of my earlier questions. I missed part of your talk on Lutheranism, and one of the things I was wondering in the midst of that was there was a comment about from Ken, I think, about when something happens, then narrative ends. But I've never seen things that way. What's the Jewish take?
No. So this is a John Vervaeke innovation. He likes to think that we can transcend narratives, and I think that's absolutely false and impossible. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if there's a specific Jewish take on it. The fact is, it's an idea that I don't think is. It's something he is playing with because he wants to transcend embodiment, and I don't think that's possible. Yeah, how can we make sentences without narratives? Well, I mean, I think he may be one of those people who looks forward to a time when we, in a sense, become some sort of disembodied intellect, and it's like, no. Mark says Peterson, Pajot, and John talked about this, and Peterson was pretty clear that we cannot transcend narrative. Yeah, that is Peterson's. See Mark's video on story, narrative, and archetypes on navigating patterns.
Haven't got there yet.
Navigating patterns?
No, I watched one of his navigating patterns. I just have a terrible memory, so I won't be able to say exactly which one unless I go back and look it up. But I did click a link to his YouTube site, so they pop up.
Yeah, I don't actually care about any of the stuff Mark talks about. I'm more interested in theology.
Well, so okay, still sticking on narrative for a second though. What is there a difference between story and narrative in the way, because I'm kind of not getting the whole point. All of
No,
life.
there really is no difference. A narrative is a story. Yeah.
That's what I would have thought. So I wasn't sure why they'd want to get rid of that.
Because he's ultimately a Gnostic, as all Buddhism is, I think.
Okay. That reminds me, I have some reading to do for somebody. I'm vetting somebody's memoir slowly, who is
Okay.
also coming from that perspective and wanted me to be one of the readers because I have no clue about it.
So whenever I think of Buddhism, I think of this horrible practice, which in my mind tells
Well,
you everything that's wrong with Buddhism in one picture.
I think I've seen that picture.
That's because I keep on bringing it up.
Oh, that could be why then. Okay.
Soku Shinbutsu, I hope I'm saying that correctly, are a kind of Buddhist mummy. In Japan, the term refers to the practice of Buddhist monks observing asceticism to the point of death and entering mummification while alive.
Okay, that's a form of dedication that few of us can master.
It's a form of dedication that I think nobody should ever master because it's not. It's suicide. It is the opposite of believing in God.
I don't know if it's suicide in the popular context because we tend to think of I had a friend once was saying to me, every time you see sudden, you read of the obituaries and you see sudden, suddenly or whatever, that it was implying suicide, which I vehemently disagreed with. But that's the common perception of suicide being some build up to a sudden loss, sudden death. And that obviously isn't.
Well, I mean, these people are practicing asceticism with the hope of dying.
Which again, I've lost a few friends and acquaintances to suicide, which again wasn't their hope and wasn't something that they worked towards. And whatever that is very definitely being worked towards,
Yeah.
With a long-term goal.
Yeah, and it's horrible, and it's the opposite. Like this is what Gnosticism is trying to. Um, yeah, there is an echo. You're kind of echoing.
At least, oh, hang on.
Yeah, when I speak, like boy, it comes back.
I'm going to sign out and back in. I'm going to close this website, this links down.
I don't think it's from my sound, but it might be. I hope that's not. I've been trying to get my sound to work, and frankly, I just need somebody who actually knows how to set up computers to come and basically set up my computer for me because yeah, I'm not that smart anymore. I used to do this stuff myself, and it's like now I'm just too old.
Well, that probably
Let's
wasn't.
see. Am I echoing? I don't think I'm echoing. I don't seem
No,
to
that
be.
probably wasn't you. I have a very bad memory and a very bad habit of using the technique of multiple windows open. So even though there was no sound on and I wasn't technically listening to any of the other open YouTube videos I had pulled, I wondered if perhaps that was maybe causing it.
I don't know.
But they're all gone.
So Chezi says, looking forward to Rabbi Malot. What is on the discussion agenda? I would say, first and foremost, how the Jewish community deals with Gentiles. No, seriously. I mean, like
I'm sorry.
a synagogue an Orthodox synagogue is not very welcoming to Gentiles. And while that's understandable, it's not excusable.
Even non-Orthodox ones that say I might be more happy going to the on-site University Chabad one with some of the questions is not
Chabad is
necessarily
Orthodox.
100% trusting of Gentiles based on previous experience.
Well, Chabad is
And they like me.
among Hasid, certainly among Hasidim and among Orthodox Jews, they are the most welcoming to Gentiles. But at the same time, ultimately, they're not there for Gentiles. And within the Orthodox community, Chabad gets very. Who's muted? I'm not sure what Chazi means by muted. Within the Orthodox community, Chabad gets a lot of criticism for being as welcoming as they are to Gentiles.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've heard you say that, so I'm nodding. Yeah, they probably are receiving that much. Hey, Jason.
Hey, how's it going?
Rabbi Malotz, everybody's so excited about you coming on.
When's he coming on again? That's scheduled. Is that next week?
Yeah, Monday.
Okay, cool.
I put one of those reminder notifications for so as I know that he's going to.
I'm going to ask him lots and lots of tough questions, but he's a rabbi, so he can take it.
What are you going to ask him?
He says, awesome. Well, I mean, the conversation is going to go where it's going to go, but a lot of the questions are going to be similar to the questions I asked my rabbi when he came on. Chabad definitely gets criticized for having too many Gentiles around. Yes, I have in fact heard. I have heard people claim that Chabad is mostly peopled by Gentiles, which is not true, even remotely true. But yeah.
What are you drinking there? That is a big mug. Nice.
It is a big mug. My mom used to put tea in my bottle, believe it or not, when I was a baby.
Is that tea?
Yeah, it is tea. This is a common thing to do in Iran. They used to put tea in kids' bottles.
What kind of tea? Is it to make you sleepy?
Regular tea, and like put you to bed. Like my mom used to put me to bed with a bottle of tea, and like you would think the caffeine would kind of counteract that, but that may be why I'm so high strung.
Or it may have lessened that. I keep telling people who say I shouldn't drink tea or coffee after a certain hour that I tend to run kind of high at times. So I said, if you're already revving a little too high, it just kind of takes you to the top, tips you over the edge, and you just relax right into the next round, down into the valley and up again. Your mom was probably wise.
It's the Persian thing to do. We could discuss this tweet thread.
What is this?
For the blind among us, what does it say?
Paul Vanderklay tweeted, I think part of loving one's enemies is to be willing to keep company with people that others think are unsafe, unworthy, or necessarily marginalized for sake of some imagined common welfare. And Nate said, wonder where you got an idea like that. Such a loose approach might lead to dining with publicans and sinners. and I don't know who John Yabe is, but he said, I imagine deleting the words "some imagined," and which I kind of echoed. I said, the danger is real. There are people who were Christians who are no longer Christians because you introduced them to me, Paul. Does your faith in the Logos allow that risk? This is not a trivial question. Judaism requires a faith in the Logos that most Christians don't have. And while I think there are plenty of Jews who don't have the type of faith that Judaism requires, and some of them would argue with me, especially the more insular ones. But I actually think that if you have a faith in God, that has to include uh, being willing to say if it's true, and if it's like having this discussion is in fact going to be for the best. So that's a topic we could talk about.
Okay, you'll be asked to clarify that for me along the way.
What do you mean?
Just because I'm probably tired. That's a lot of words. So he said loving your enemies involves, maybe being with people you're not comfortable with is my, in a nutshell take on that.
Okay.
And you said be careful because,
Well, okay, so there are people who keep on telling Paul that he shouldn't talk about me on his channel, and he certainly shouldn't have my videos on his channel, and he shouldn't link to my videos on his channel because I am dangerous. And
okay.
right, I hear you, Rabbi, but
I don't know what that means.
the fact is, I am.
Here, let's see.
So he says, "Al tifnu el ha'elilim," do not turn towards idolatry, which is one of the 613 commandments. But the fact is, and this is a fight I used to have when I was more involved. So when I was on campus as a kind of kiruv rabbi, I wasn't an actual rabbi, but I was on campus as a kiruv rabbi. There would be students who were taking college courses who came from very religious Jewish backgrounds, whose parents who had not prepared them. And actually, Doug Wilson kind of had a video on this as well. Had not prepared them, and it's one thing to say do not. I mean, I'm not telling people to chas v'shalom teach their children like Christianity. But at the same time, your adult children have to understand what Christianity is about, and what their neighbors believe, and what is right and wrong about that. You know what? Let me pull up Rabbi Skobak's. Rabbi Skobak had a really good video on this.
Hello, Hezi.
What?
I was just saying hello, Hezi. He said, "Good evening, Jason and Sandy."
Oh, I don't. Maybe I have to click over into comments.
Oh yeah, probably.
There they are. Yeah.
Okay, so this is one of my favorite videos of Rabbi Skobak that I am constantly sending people to, and if you guys are amenable, we could actually watch it.
Okay, and I will I will just ask you a quick question before we do. So, or I don't know if it's a question. Here's a short thought on me. I've posted a few times in comments. I'm a bit weird, so I obviously have a Christian background. I'm still hanging out with a small house church. and love those people dearly. I also found you via the earlier. I think I said that somewhere today or recently. I also found you via Paul Vanderklay, who I locked into processing some of their synod last year, which completely freaked me out and reminded me of my ex. I do have friends who are in same-sex marriages. I have family members who are in those relationships, and I would have no issue with having one of them as an elder if they were strong in their faith. Yes, that look. Absolutely. So I'm just saying that. So, Jason, I think you made that same look to something Jacob said earlier, but in reverse.
What do you? I'm looking at Jacob's face too, and Jacob's.
Or maybe it's a mirror thing.
Maybe I don't know. I was looking at Jacob's face because he did.
Look,
So,
No,
and
I
yet
don't
at the
know.
same time, I love what you say about things being orthodox, and I do like being challenged to live my life the way I've made myself live it myself. I'm just not sure I demand other people do.
look, I have a lot of gay friends, many of whom are married. Um, Spencer Clavin, Andrew Clavin's son, is a friend of mine, as is his fiance, Josh Herr. But I don't. And I I was actually there when Josh asked Spencer to marry him, and it was really sweet. And it was, and I actually have a video about it on my channel about that. And I am happier for them together than I would be if they were alone forever. And I think that this is, and Rabbi Malot may disagree with me, but I would say that a celibate lifestyle, the way Christians would um, would would recommend it, is not a real option from a Jewish view. And this is just my private idea, and I know that vast majority of rabbis, at least publicly, disagree with that. I have to say, Rabbi Breitowitz was very clear once when he was asked this question that he would allow um, a gay married couple. Obviously, he doesn't believe in gay marriage. For both of them to be individually members of a synagogue, he would not allow them to be members as a couple. And
That's where I think the CRC is at the moment, but you just said it a little more kindly than it was said at Synod.
I was not only very supportive of the measure at the CRC Synod, despite the fact that I'm not a member of the CRC. I spent the 2 hours that Paul and I were in the car as I was driving him to that synod, trying to convince him to be supportive of the plank against gay marriage. So because I remember Rabbi Wein, when I was in yeshiva at Or Sameach, which Rabbi Malot and I both went to the same yeshiva in Israel, and Rabbi Beryl Wein, who is a very, very prominent rabbi, I remember him talking about how the Catholic Church is he said the Catholic Church is basically the only organization that has not rolled over on gay marriage, and he thought that was an absolute travesty. Because we have to recognize that no matter how nice and kind you want to be to people who may have some form of yes, I have a video on, I have actually several videos on what happened at Yeshiva University. No matter how nice and kind you want to be to people who are in an unfortunate situation, that's an unfortunate situation. There is no concept of biology which does not recognize that. Yes, I am very aware of what happened at Yeshiva University. I have several videos on it. There is no view of, like, forget the religious stuff. Like, how do you talk about biology and not realize that homosexual orientation is dysfunctional? Like, what more do you need to know about biology than to realize that is itself dysfunctional? Yeah, Mark says too much tolerance leads to robbing people of the opportunity for redemption. It also robs them of feedback too. And look, if somebody is deaf, and in my video talking about Spencer and Josh, I gave this example. If your child is deaf, you want to be incredibly compassionate, right? That doesn't mean you do what some of the deaf rights people have been doing, which is deliberately trying to breed children who are deaf because they want their kids to have deaf culture. Like, what kind of crazy do you have to be? When I first heard about this, I was still in high school. This was like a good 25 years ago. And it was shocking, and I didn't really believe it. And one of my classmates was an ASL interpreter, and she was telling me about it. But there are people who are asking doctors, and there are doctors who are debating the ethics of selecting embryos to be deaf. Yeah. Like, what'd you say, Sandy?
I said I'm listening. I was just trying to look that up. 25 years ago, John and I, no, more than that. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm getting old. 30 something years ago, John and I were taking our trip down to Gallaudet to take a family learning vacation. So for Jacob. And I wouldn't try to breed my children any particular way. But
Sandy,
I do
something
know
wrong with that. No, you would try to breed your children so they can hear.
I didn't try to breed my children anyway at all. I've had so many people talk about your rights to parenthood, and having lost 3 and literally standing on my head practically to have some. No, I didn't try to breed my kids any particular way at all.
Sandy, you want your kids to be healthy. Being deaf, being blind is not healthy. And you accept your children however they are, and you give them as much love as you can. But this is not acceptance. It's not acceptance to say, I don't want my child to be deaf. I don't want my child to be gay. I don't want my child to limp. I don't want my child to be short. I don't want my child to have anything. And this attempt to normalize the abnormal is destructive. It's absolutely destructive.
So where did they say they were literally trying to breed deaf children, or are they tending to? Because okay, so I know a number of families who are within a genetically deaf family loop, where even though some of them are marrying people who come from hearing families, like my son, if he was to be healthy enough to be married to anybody, he would bring other things with it. But what's the difference between trying and simply happening? Like Jacob has cranial synostosis as well as deafness and autism. And we were talking to some families of people who, or was it? I think it was my ex.
Sandy, stop.
So you're finally arguing with me. Awesome.
Look,
He's been being very polite so far.
This is an actual question people are asking. Is it ever morally permissible to select for deafness in one's child? The answer is no.
It's not morally permissible to select your children.
No, thank you. Say that again.
It's not morally permissible to select your children, period, unless you're adopting them.
No, that's not true. No. If I could choose, no, Sandy, if I could choose,
if you had the literal power, would you? If you had the power to genetically engineer your child the way that some
to not be deaf, yes, of course I would.
No, not to not be deaf, for the advantages you want them to have in the world. Would you do it?
As many advantages as advantage makes sense. Yes.
Sorry. I'm trying to read the comments. I'm not good at reading the comments and watching you guys.
No, look, this is our society. I seriously believe this. This is our society having lost its mind. Mm-hmm. Of course you don't want your child to be deaf. That doesn't mean you don't love your deaf child. But of course, you do not want your child to be deaf.
Okay, so here's a question for you on top of that. I know for a fact that around age 13, Jacob was saying he didn't want to be deaf. And I've told him he had next to no language, right? Okay. With a little bit of language he would every once in a while randomly say stuff, And one of the things was he didn't want to be deaf, he didn't want to be autistic, and he didn't want to have to go through puberty because he didn't want to grow hair under his arms.
Okay.
I couldn't give him any of those wishes. But
if you could, you would give him number 1 and number 2 and not number 3.
Well, I understand your question. Possibly. Why not number 3 though?
Well,
I mean, you could say that. You could. I do understand
because
you do want
things are normal and good, and other things are bad. Up is up, down is down.
But why wouldn't you just make Superman if you had the option? Like, I get her. I get.
If you had the option, I would. My kid would have every single advantage in the world. My kid would be 6'2" and a great athlete and have an IQ of 180, not too smart.
Not too
of course,
smart.
I would give my kid every advantage possible. This is ridiculous. Why is this even a question?
So how do you know those are the advantages?
Because there's such a thing as normal. There is such a thing as a norm. This is human morality.
That's a people perspective. I'm not 100% certain that's a God perspective. And my other question I was going to ask.
That's why we turn to the Bible, and the Bible tells us, right?
That good sports ability.
Well, this is
the thing. It's the Bible certainly tells us that being blind is not as good as being seen. There's a reason why blind people are not allowed to serve in the temple.
I've heard that. I know. My other question that comes onto the back of that I was going to ask is coming from um, no, I was going to say Christian perspective. That's not the question. Living in a Christian worldview, so therefore surrounded by many people sharing that kind of worldview, we would occasionally get accosted by people wanting to pray for him, um, which was sometimes kindly intended and sometimes simply akin akin to or felt as bad as taking him to the hospital for surgery. The intent of the request was not necessarily for his good so much as to show God's power in being able to wield the ability to create a miracle in him. And that bothered me.
Look, anybody who wants to be a miracle worker is an idiot. Um, and that's if you want to pray for someone, pray for that person. There's no reason in the world that needs to be public.
I do pray for people, some of whom are needing some and asking for prayer. But that's one of my questions around some of the Christian tradition is the variations where and I've been in some of those variations where they've got a more Pentecostal leaning and the good, the bad, the ugly.
Why wouldn't you want someone to pray for someone else? This seems crazy. If they get the miracle to work, that is all the better. Yeah, no. So this is a very, very important sickness in our society of not being able to say good is good and bad is bad. And that is incredibly destructive, and that's clown world. Like this is bad. This is incredibly bad. If our society, if doctors don't know what healing is, they don't know the difference between healing and harm. And they seem to not to because they're castrating healthy children.
That wasn't the example I was thinking of, but I do agree that not all doctors, they may understand the difference, but they may not care.
This comes from a lot of postmodern and bad. Look, the fact is our theology has failed us because people don't, and that's why I was so adamant, and hopefully at least a little bit influential in Paul's decision. He ultimately did, and certainly now supports the confessional status of heterosexual marriage in the CRC, and that's one of the things that makes the CRC sane as opposed to the rest of our country.
Mm.
Did this happen recently?
Yeah,
This happened last June. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember him talking about that. I just didn't know if it was more recent or why it was coming up again.
No,
or
it
something,
was a huge deal, and it was just this past June, and the fact is, I don't know what's going to happen this coming synod this year, because supposedly anybody who disagrees is supposed to not be eligible to be a member of the CRC. So anybody at the synod who nobody should be admitted to synod as a member of the CRC who believes that that gay marriage is permissible, and that there's without question going to be people who are going to actually try to bring this question up again. And it's like is the Senate going to actually have the backbone to kick those people out? I hope so, but I don't know that they will.
How do? Well, I'm not part of that
I didn't mean it.
denomination, so I don't know how they do that.
Not sure. Well, they've already implied it.
What do you
I'm
mean?
not
How
sure.
they do what?
Well, I mean,
Excommunicate.
I've run into this. Well, I've run into this problem too. This topic I don't like to get into really,
I
but
didn't mean it
from
to
a
create a topic. I was just telling Jacob that I'm not as
well,
I don't,
that's
he
fine.
was
I don't
talking
mind.
about
I
being
don't mind
dangerous,
talking
and I'm
about
like,
it.
I don't
It's
know what I am.
no, I don't mind talking about it. It's just the reason I don't always care for it is because it feels like a ball of snakes in my head, because I feel like from not necessarily from a biblical standpoint, but from a most Christian standpoint, I have trouble actually defending. Like I think homosexuality, like they have a point, because and think probably for things like birth control and stuff. Because I'm like, if I ask Christian, what's the point of sex? It's like most Christians use birth control, and then it's not about procreation anymore. And it just gets all twisted up in my head. And I'm like, well, if it's not about procreation, then they'll say it's about intimacy. And I'm like, well, then it's about two people loving each other. Then I'm like, well, don't they have like a point there? And then it just that's what I mean. It's so in my head, it's so much messed up, and I feel like I can't unless you draw like really fine lines like Jacob does or something and say it's about procreation, then I don't know where you wouldn't you say that, or no? I feel like you
It
said
is
that
about
before.
procreation,
Yeah.
yes.
And
of
I feel
course.
like if
Says
you,
it's about procreation.
and I feel like if you lose that, and then I feel like it gets really slippery really quick. And that's what I mean. I don't know how to defend against it other than drawing really fine lines or saying something like, in the beginning, God created Mother Earth and the heavens and the earth. And I'm like, this is the reality we actually live in. Most things in our reality are masculine and feminine. Like that's just that in order for there to be life, there has to be, you have the red earth, red, the blue heavens, and then they create green. And I'm like, that's just how the reality works. Like that's how
Brown, dear. Red and blue create brown. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess no, I'm talking about like plant life and things like that. But yeah, whatever. I don't know. It's colors in my head sometimes. But
Let it eat your brain. Please don't let it eat your brain.
No, well, I'm just saying, like, well, when I talk to
questions for you, for
when
growing,
I talk, well,
for being the best person you can be. Ask things, and don't just chase the snakes around your head if that's what it's doing. Please don't do that.
No, I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm just saying, like, if I actually sit down with most Christians and I say, what is sexuality for? Like, they'll probably say procreation, and then I'll say, why do you use birth control? And then they'll say, well, it's not just about procreation; it's about intimacy. And I'm like, so it's not. So now you've split these apart, like where before it was like sexuality was about intimacy and procreation, and like all these things together. And now they're split apart, and so I'm like, well, if you've divorced sexuality from procreation, now it's just about intimacy and love, then why can't homosexuals have that? Like, why are you forbidding them?
Would you like my take on my 25 to 30 some odd years in the CRC and my dang it, every time I get on here talking to you and Jacob, I have a moment I'm gonna cry.
Oh no.
I can't help it. I can't help it. I have a deeply pained heart about some things, and that is nobody's fault except my life. And just simply having well, I used to tell people God knew that God knew I was going to need a very good overflow gauge, so he made me able to cry easily, because otherwise I'll explode. So don't worry about it. My take on some of your questions, Jason. I've changed my opinion on the topic under discussion a number of times over the years. Was challenged on that by a friend of mine who's of atheist persuasion recently, who said, I used to sit more in the 1973 CRC position of, hate the sin, love the sinner, because that sounded easy to me to do. And it sounds very, what's the word? Not benign, where you don't hurt somebody that way. But the
Benign.
reality is that whatever that word is, even if you hold that position kindly, you can still very deeply hurt people, you know? Um, and
Sometimes you have to hurt people, Sandy.
yeah, I know I went through a divorce that hurt everybody, including me, very badly. But
Sandy, sometimes you hurt people. That's all there is to it.
sure, and it's just like your hospital. Everybody got out alive. And that
Yes.
was the point.
Yes.
And I still go and see my ex lately once a week because he doesn't like to eat alone. And because I don't have. Sorry, I know you told me I'm not supposed to cry or perfect Jack or anything, but I'm still grieving and I'm going to for quite a while. So what I told Jack, my thought on that, I've only been with 2 people in my life. One I had a paper marriage to where I signed documents and made a legal promise to try to be loyal to him forever. And I almost got dead doing it. And I asked the people in church, when you say you should die to self or you should die to Christ, how literally are you telling me to do that? Okay? I asked a very, very good young pastor who I highly respect that question. And he couldn't give me an answer because he kept saying, well, that's not exactly what I mean by that. And so I got to May 2016 and I was still struggling with it. And I was talking to God one day and I said, fine, I'm ready to have the conversation. I'm going to leave him. Tell me why. You know? And mostly it was because if I didn't, we could all have been dead. It was not a good situation. It wasn't healthy. And sometimes people and things are dangerous. That is true, including myself. Even though you don't intend to be dangerous, sometimes simply by existing, you harm other people. And I kept thinking my ex wanted me dead. We had 2 children together. I love those children. Okay? And I really value the fact that we had those 2 children together. But that cannot be the sole point and purpose of the 36 years of hell we put each other through. It can't be that. That cannot be the sole purpose of people being joined, because if that was all God intended by it, why the hell would he have separated Adam and Eve to begin with? I look at the stuff that's going on in the world and I think to myself, look what he did. And I have a weird question going through my head about that lately, Jacob. Reading some of the general comment about life and men and women and feminism and male this and that, whatever, I'm thinking, I was reading about stuff how one of the science things that Google thought I would be very interested in knowing was the fact that the male sperm count is currently going down. And I talked to my son who took some basics, some university science courses, and was explaining a little bit about why. But the thing is, I started thinking about, like sort of some kind of deterioration or something they were talking about, the Y portion of the XY chromosome. I'm not a science geek, so yeah, I make that face too. Anywho, there's something going on, and I was thinking, well, isn't that just weird? And then I started thinking about God taking my ex said some things about Calvinist theology and his theology and blah, blah, blah. And his take is that somehow or another Eve sinned, and that was the whole point of why women are less than men, and to be therefore reminded of that faithfully and eternally, so that we can kind of make it up to them. And he'll deny saying that, but he had said that to me over the years in many less polite versions. And
Sandy,
when I look at the intricacy of one of the weird things that I see genetically, How come women have two X's and that's all that we have, whereas the men have the XY? And I think when God says he pulled us from Adam's side, did he simply pull one portion of Adam out and let us hold that component of something in us? And if we are joined to somebody, isn't that somehow a bringing back together of what God took apart? And shouldn't that be in and of itself something miraculous to be celebrated? And that's what I told Jack. I think we celebrate each other and honor God. That's what the point of it is.
Sandy,
And I could be completely wrong, but that is honest.
no, nobody's saying you're wrong.
Oh,
but
it's okay. I'm just saying that's my take on it.
Sandy.
And I'm not crying because of the conversation. I'm simply crying because I'm very.
Okay.
First, I got to share my opinions on married life together with somebody. And trust me, I'm not going to be ascended ever. I very much, for being with Jack, fall into that category that they lumped into this long string of things so that they could talk about why homosexual sex is wrong. So is my ex, so am I, so would be Jack, so would be a whole smack load of people I know. And for all their good intent, they said it in ways that reminded me far too much of the abusive marriage I was in for 36 years. Far too much.
Sandy.
Yep.
There's.
Sorry.
No.
Feel deeply about it.
Yes. And that's good and fine. Now, the thing is, what I see is a lot. I see a lot of pain from something that I think is uniquely Protestant, which is not giving people enough direction in their lives.
Well, and maybe the way of talking to hopefully the way of talking to each other as a couple, because I have to say that when I contrast the places with his Calvinism that my ex-husband has struggled with his entire life since he was a child, and I contrast the places Jack struggled with simply for having a couple of failed marriages and still very much believing in his heritage, in whatever ways he did, he was a heck of a lot kinder to me.
Sandy,
which is also why
human beings. Hold on. No, individual human beings are individual human beings, and they fail and they excel in many different ways. Who put that in?
I don't know. I can't see anything anybody's saying. Hello, Richard. And if you still want to talk about what you wanted us to watch, I'm very open to that.
No, Sandy, I want you to actually listen for 2 seconds to what I have to tell you. It would have been very, very nice of that nice young pastor to have actually had the guidance and the capacity to speak wisely to your situation. And it seems that he didn't.
I'm not sure.
And that's a huge problem.
He's young. He's young.
And okay, but what is he doing as a pastor? What is your community doing?
That
Sandy,
wasn't
Stop.
Okay, hang on 1 second. That was not a CRC pastor. Protestant, yes, but not CRC.
Doesn't matter. Sandy, what am I trying to tell you?
He should have given me better guidance than he did.
Not just him.
Well,
the community owes you more than this. Oh, it's just you and God and you have to figure it out.
Well, when people in the community try to talk in the church community I was in, we don't necessarily have consensus. You know, neither do Jews 100%, because you're telling me there's different forms of Judaism, but every one of
There
them
is. But
seems to value each other in a different way than I
look,
think a lot of Christians do.
most Jews are as Protestant as Christians are. That's just a fact. But
Really?
yes,
So
Reform and conservative Judaism are basically Christianity dressed up as Judaism. Because ultimately, if you're going to be an Orthodox Jew, there's a lot of guidance in life. And what's absolutely shocking to me is how little your community was willing to guide you in obviously a very difficult situation.
But doesn't that come down to skill?
What do you mean?
Skill. Actually having the skill to guide somebody.
Well, hopefully the community has as a community is able to develop wisdom. That this is fundamentally what we end up talking about in this little corner the most, is whether or not our community develops wisdom. And
Okay.
and a major problem why I'm constantly trying, like, fighting against Protestant theology is you should have a community which helps you understand your role in life and helps you in that. And frankly, when you go to a pastor and you ask, "Pastor, is this a time when I should be getting a divorce or not?"
I did have people who advised I do. It wasn't my pastor. Him and his
Okay.
wife basically were not those people.
Okay. Well, the question becomes, and this is what Protestants end up calling legalism, right? But
What?
it's something that the Catholic Church is much better at dealing with, of actually having a pastor there who has a whole wealth of wisdom behind him. And this is
So
that's how I see this problem.
okay, so I'll get you to sort of revisit the definition of legalism, but I'll ask it within another, also with an addendum question of, when I did go to him, one of the things I specifically asked of him was help for my ex who needed mentoring in running a business because he was burying us and didn't. The answer I got was, we're not an employment agency. There's more to it than that, and I've spoken with my ex recently about some of the dynamics of our early years there.
Okay, Sandy, this is getting
Does that
really in depth into your personal life.
Yeah, and I don't mean it
you
that
have-
way. I'm sort of
no,
saying,
but you
The
have to understand there's all of the internet watching. Okay, so
yeah,
I don't want to get
Okay.
get too personal to you,
Thank
but just generally,
so when you go to a pastor with tough questions, what would be if theoretically, completely, if you were pastoring a Christian congregation, what would be your expectation of yourself?
well, there's a reason why I'm not a pastor, but
I gathered that, but yeah, theoretically, what would it be?
I gather that.
The fact is that when it comes down to it, in the type of community I would like to live in, and look, we're all people and we're going to fail, but you pick the wisest person and that person's the pastor, and you as a community help each other and not be these divorced and divorced from the community individuals, right? So there are times when a community has to recognize, yeah, you know what? It's better if these two people get divorced. And there are times when a community has to realize, you know what? It's better if these two people stay together. And that's part of communal um, communal support and togetherness and being a community. And unfortunately, it is in fact Martin Luther's fault that our society is as broken as it is. And ultimately, I have to believe that that was God's plan. And I'm not saying that nothing good came out of all of the things that Martin Luther did, but now we have to realize that we are in a place where we are not affording our communities the support that we need.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I'm glancing over Mark's comment about all the crazy solas. When I look at Reformed Protestantism, Reformed Christianity, and I look at what you were talking about with Lutheranism earlier, and like sola scriptura, so like sola, but however they say, by faith alone, by
Sola Fide,
yeah, like there's a billion different sayings within my religious context that in the day-to-day do not necessarily connect with the reasons I have any of the wisdom I have gained. And really, simply quoting a catchphrase at me does not help me. And an awful lot of the place I went assumes a common background based on the denominational and cultural history. Same as within the deaf community, when they talk about certain things in a certain way based on people who've grown up, in deaf families, there's deaf culture. I ask questions because I don't get it. But within the church context, asking some of the questions gets quoted more expectations of common ground. Within Judaism, you would have similar things. Like I watch some of the conversations go by, you guys talk about things and you'll speak about this or that person or this or that context or this or that, whatever. Some wisdom comes from shared places like that.
All wisdom, I think that's actually what it goes back to the discussion when we first started with narratives. That ultimately wisdom is embodied.
Now, when you talk about, and I talk too much, but when you talk about embodied, do you mean taken into ourselves?
That's part of it, but also, look, there's a reason why so much of the Bible is actually the lives of human beings, right? It's actually the lives of actual human beings and how they acted in different situations and the mistakes that they made and the things that they did correctly.
Well, and that's why I love reading the stories in the Old Testament, because they actually explain faith in the lived context of the difficult places.
Yes.
Like that's
wisdom.
They're not theoretical. Yeah, they're tangible.
And ultimately, it has to come down to the tangible and the practical. Okay, Richard, what made you join this discussion?
Oh, CRC and the party debate is something I put time into, so that hooked me in. But it was great to hear a bit of your story, Sam, and thank you for sharing. So I have nothing to say, but I'm just taking it all in.
Be careful what you say. It might make her cry. I don't know what I did. I'm sorry.
Didn't make me cry.
I know. I get on here and say one thing.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm giving you a hard.
I woke up from a weird dream, asked God what the point of everything was, found myself at the back end of Job reading about Leviathan and then God's conversation with Job's friends and wept.
Wow.
You didn't make me cry.
That just
Wow,
happened right
you
before you
cry
got on here.
almost as fast as Jess
Can
does on
you share this dream?
when Job comes up.
Can I share the dream? No, it was choppy.
What? I want to hear this dream.
It was totally choppy. Most of
Okay.
my dreams, my friends will say to me that I can remember more details than they would. This was a weird, jumping from place to place kind of thing where, yeah,
Hmm.
like Leviathan
That's
thrashing
fun.
in the waves with many, it was like that. It was weird.
How was your sister's birthday, Jason?
Oh, it was good. Yeah, it was good. She had a good time, I guess. Yeah, we went to Chattanooga, got some pizza, and then I hung out with her and her friends afterwards. We just went out to a small it's like I think it's a local brewery or something. So I drank a Diet Dew there, had a blast, partied hard.
Yeah.
Did you talk to any of her friends? Are you going?
Yeah. We had
date?
this. No. My sister is 10 years younger than me as well, so usually her friends are all in that same age too.
That's fine.
So I don't.
And
That's fine.
My dad's
Okay.
10 years older than my mom. That's fine.
No, I did talk to him though. It was fun. It was good talking to him. We had a discussion about what different
Did you catch what
astrological
he
charts
said?
we were to. No, I didn't.
Good. That's okay.
Hey, Jacob's always pushing me to get with girls, to get married, but it's too late for me. We know that.
Oh,
It's
give
too
me a
late for
break. How
you.
old are
No,
you?
I'm just
That's
kidding.
true.
Hey, I'm doing that abstinence life here. We were just talking about celibacy all the way.
Oh,
That's my
God
plan.
forbid.
Pauline theology
What
that Jacob hates.
what
Just to
I
spite Jacob.
constantly say is a celibate life is definitely far more immoral than a homosexual monogamous
wow.
Hey,
relationship.
Wow. That,
Okay. And
That's
siding with
shocking.
Jacob on the wanting to determine your procreated little beings. I would love to see more little Jasons running around. So just saying.
oh, wouldn't we all? Wouldn't we all? That's the dream.
Especially Jason's mom. Like she would love to have some grandkids.
oh,
She does. My sister, I have three sisters. So my youngest sister, Natalie, it was her birthday, but the one above her, the one younger than me, above Natalie, she had a baby in March. So my mom, they got a new grandchild there. So
wow.
we're loving that kid.
My sister
cute.
has 3 grandchildren, and I am the oldest and have none. And I watch my younger son, who's really the only one of the 2 that probably could potentially get married and would love to, but he's terribly not good at knowing how to have a relationship. And
It's tough out there.
I watched him with his what would that be? He's always giving off his knowledge of first cousins, second cousins, cousins twice removed or whatever. Anyway, my niece's daughter. And oh my gosh, she just takes to him like anything. And she was being very shy with people. And I'm like, you know what? He would make a fabulous father. He's afraid of it though, because of his father, but he would make a fabulous father. I wish that for him. Yeah.
That's a scary thing.
Of course it's scary. It's terrifying. You never know what's going to happen. You don't know how life's going to turn out. Which is why Jacob would like to engineer perfect children with all the advantages.
Well, you
And not have
it's just the thought of being a parent feels like I'm just gonna inevitably just mess up the person. Like even adoption, I'm like, I'm like so much. I would screw it up so bad.
That's the fun part. I quite happily had all of my son's friends come over and hang at our house. I told my son it with tongue in cheek many times, I'm trying out for worst mom of the year. He would tell friends that if they didn't behave, I'd hang them up by their thumbs in his closet and then laugh at them because they looked like he was serious. No.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's not an excuse to not have kids either, or to not adopt. But because we're all gonna mess it up somewhere. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, I'll say this on the kids that I worked my first job at a summer camp this summer with first to sixth graders. That was the most meaningful 5 weeks of my life pouring into those kids. So
Mhm.
you really see the impact. So they're amazing little creatures. Those kids. So
Mhm.
I love having the privilege of watching growth, like
Yeah.
those places where you got to see the light bulb going off, or you
Yeah.
got to see, just anything, popping in their head.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just like working at conflict and trying to teach them how to be friends with one another and all of that. So, and yeah, I learned a fair bit too. So you learn a
Which
lot.
reminds me, Richard, what did Jake's father say about coming on my channel?
Oh, I had to bug Drake about that. He said he would ask. But I will ask him if he asked. So, but he said he'd be down to go to synagogue. Apparently he didn't see my text, which knowing him is very plausible. So we'll have to make that happen this semester. So
Jake's father is works for Chosen People Ministries.
Oh,
What is that?
I've
It's
seen them.
a Christian organization that's trying to destroy the souls of Jews.
Also known as a group of Messianic Jews,
Okay.
Jacob,
Destroy the soul.
trying to teach poor, unknowledgeable Christians about how satyrs and other elements of Judaism work.
That's
Satyrs.
not a bad part.
Wait, satyrs. What is it? What is this? Are we talking about fairies now?
no.
What's that?
You've never heard of a satyr?
Yeah, like the goat creature.
No.
Wait, what are we talking about? We're not talking about the same thing.
SEDER, not S.
But it's the same word, right? Oh
No, it's not.
I'm too pagan for this conversation.
We did Seder meals at my middle school. We had the whole table and I don't remember what the dishes were, but they made the dishes.
I've heard it.
We had the chair out for Elijah. So I make the Elijah joke a lot, and fun times in Christian middle school. So
It always amazes me though. So I've seen their presentation to Christian churches twice. And there really aren't any great questions when they ask for questions. I mean, Jacob would never stand for that. Never. He would make them ask questions.
whoops.
Why does that happen? Do they select the questions, or what do you mean?
I don't think
Christians aren't allowed to ask questions in church.
Yeah,
You
they're
might
not
get
taught how.
excommunicated. Come on.
I had like a 2.5 hour theological conversation with my parents and my grandmother like last night, and it was intense. But I was asking a lot of questions. But and
they were like, "Oh no, now he's going to become some sort of heretic."
There were a few points where I was like, "Well, I
Yeah.
guess I'm just not Christian then," But then they were like, "No, come back." But no, there's I don't know. I mean, there's just there are a lot of questions, but I do like that there's a way it's very simplistic to where, I mean, I do think certain things are simplistic where children can get them, but then when you get older, it's just like, well, even talking about salvation, like you ask a Christian what that is, and it's like, I don't know what the answer is. Like, I don't know what most Christians' answer is. I know what my answer would be, but I don't know that it's the
He
Christian
wants
answer.
us to know that A, he thinks Jason would be a great dad.
Oh, that's so
And
nice.
B, he's sending you strength and love, Sandy.
Thank you.
Hezzy is a very, very loving guy, which is
Yeah.
why
He thinks I'll be a great dad. Wait till he sees Mitch. Mitch will be a great dad.
I'm sure Mitch will be a great dad.
Yeah. He's kind of MIA for now. I have only heard from him a tiny bit since then, but
First 2 weeks are just. I told him. I told him be prepared not to sleep for 2 weeks.
So
And
I think my first 2 weeks consisted of life support, and that was it.
Hezzy
that,
doesn't know about
I
me.
am sure your parents did not sleep for those 2 weeks.
Well, it was me and my mom, so I don't know how my dad did.
Oh,
But,
wow.
Oy.
yeah, I was in emergency C-section, so
Yeah, that happens.
yeah, I made it though. So
And we are very glad you did, Richard.
Definitely.
yeah, glory be to God. So. Yeah, that was on Guam too. I was born on Guam.
Oh wow.
This is actually a funny connection, Jacob. So I went to Lutheran, what do you call that? Like day school, not day school.
God have mercy on your soul. Okay.
Like they took care of me as a kid, and then I went back there last year and attended Lutheran service. On the beach, basically beachfront church. Great little service, but I'm glad it was before you ruined Lutheranism for me, Jacob.
What I have told Christians often is, and especially Noachides, is have an appreciation for everything that Christianity gave you, because where you were is how you got to where you are. And if this is something that more than one rabbi has said to me, like the bitterness in the Noahide community is just towards Christianity is just not healthy at all. It really is not.
You know, there's quite a lot of. I feel like there's even bitterness towards Christianity within Christianity a lot of times too, which is like, it is very sad. But you know, we kind of did it to ourselves in a lot of ways too. But I don't know.
Okay, so maybe I'll pull up the Ramban's letter to his son. It's a Jewish classic, and it's a great one if I can find it. Where is that's okay? So Chidushe Ramban, Igeret HaRamban. There it is. And there it is. And where am I? There I am. Igeret HaRamban, the letter of the Ramban to his son. This is Nachmanides, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman. Listen, my son, to the thought of your father, and do not forsake the teaching of your mother. Proverbs 1:8. Accustom yourself to always speak all of your words calmly to every man at every time. In doing so, you will prevent your anger from flaring, which is a bad attribute in a man, which may cause him to sin. And accordingly said our rabbis, may their memories be a blessing. Nedarim 22a. Anyone who gets angry, all of Gehinnom, that's hell, holds sway over him, as it is says Kohelet. Kohelet is Ecclesiastes.
Mhm.
11:10, and remove the anger from your heart and take away the bad from your flesh. And bad can only mean Gehinom, as it says Proverbs 16:4, and the sinner he too will have his day of bad. When you will feel when you will have freed yourself from anger, the quality of humility will enter your heart, which is the best of all traits, as it is written, Mishle, Proverbs. I don't know why in some places it's Proverbs and in some places it's Mishle, but it is. 22:4. The return for humility is fear of a God. Through humility, you will also come to fear God. It will cause you to always think about Pirkei Avot 3:1, where you came from and where you are going, and that while alive you are only like a maggot and a worm as after death, and before whom you will eventually stand for judgment, the glorious King, as it is written, both in First Kings and in Second Chronicles, even the heaven and the heavens of heavens cannot contain you. How much less the hearts of people? It is also written, do I not fill heaven and earth, says the Lord. When you think about all these things, you will come to fear God who created you, and you will protect yourself from sinning and thereby be happy with whatever happens to you. Also, when you act humbly and modestly before everyone and fear God and fear sin, the radiance of his glory and the spirit of the Shekhinah will rest upon you, and you will live the life of the world to come. And now, my son, understand and observe that whoever feels that he is greater than others is rebelling against the kingship of heaven, because he is adorning himself with his garments. As it is written, the Lord reigns, he wears clothes of pride. What cause does one have for pride? Perhaps his wealth? The Lord impoverishes and enriches. Perhaps his honor? It belongs to God. As it is written, wealth and honor come from you. So how could one adorn himself with God's honor? And one who prides himself in his wisdom surely knows that God takes away the speech of assured men and reasoning from the sages. Thus all are equal before God, since with his anger he lowers the proud, and when he wishes he raises the low. So humble yourself, and God will raise you up. Therefore, I will now explain to you how to always behave humbly. Speak gently at all times, with your head bowed, your eyes looking down to the ground, and your heart focusing on God. Don't look at the face of the person to whom you are speaking. Consider everyone as greater than yourself. If he is wise or wealthy, you should give him respect. If he is poor and you are wealthier and or wiser than he, consider yourself to be more guilty than he, and that he is more worthy than you, since when he sins it is inadvertent, while you act knowingly. In all your actions, words, and thoughts, always regard yourself as standing before God with his Shekhinah above you, for his glory fills the whole world. Speak with fear and awe as a servant in the presence of his master. Act with restraint in front of everyone. When someone calls you, don't answer loudly but calmly, as one who stands before his master. Take heed to study Torah constantly, so you will be able to fulfill its commands. When you arise from your learning, reflect carefully on what you have studied, to find a lesson in it that you can be put into practice. Examine your actions every morning and evening, and in this way, every one of your days will be spent in returning to God. Remove all worldly concerns from your heart during prayer. Prepare your heart before God. Purify your thoughts and think about the words before you utter them. Do this each and every day of your life in all of your activities, and you will not come to sin. This way all your words, deeds, and thoughts will be proper. Your prayers will be pure, clear, clean, appropriate, and acceptable to God. As it is written, when their heart is directed to you, listen to them. Read this letter at least once a week and not less. Fulfill it, and doing so, walk with it forever in the ways of the Lord. May he be blessed, so that you will succeed in all your ways. This is how you will succeed and merit the world to come, which is reserved for the righteous. Every day that you shall read this letter, heaven shall answer whatever arises in your heart to request forever. Amen. Selah. And this has become so popular. It's printed in a lot of prayer books.
It's good. I like it.
Chezi says, I don't know about Mitch.
He needs to meet Mitch. Mitch is great.
Likute Moharan Resh Pe Bet, if you insist.
What is that?
Likute Moharan is a collection of the sayings of Rabbi Nachman Mibreslev, who was a great grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. And Likutei Moharan 282. No, a person must judge everyone favorably. Even someone who is completely wicked, it is necessary to search and find in him some modicum of good, that in that little bit he is not wicked. And by finding in him a modicum of good and judging him favorably, one genuinely elevates him to the scale of merit and can bring him to repent. This is the aspect of in yet a little bit the wicked man is not. You will reflect upon his place and he will not be there. I'm just looking at the Hebrew. Ve'od ma'at ve'ein rasha ve'hitponenta al mekomo ve'eineno. Interesting. That is, Scripture warns to judge everyone favorably, even if you see that he is a completely wicked, like Chezi is. You must search and seek the little bit of good in him. You know, the little bit of good in Chezi, wherein he is not wicked. This is, in yet a little bit, the wicked man is not. You must seek the yet a little bit of good that he still has within him, because in that place he is not wicked. For although he is wicked, how is it possible that he does not still possess even a little bit of good? Is it possible that throughout his life he never did some mitzvah or good deed? And by your finding in him yet a little bit of good, wherein he is not wicked, and you're judging him favorably, you genuinely elevate him from the scale of guilt to the scale of merit, until, as a result of this, he returns to God in repentance. Thus, this is, in yet a little bit, the wicked man is not. By finding in the wicked person yet a little bit of good as a result, you will reflect upon his place, and he will not be there. That is, when you contemplate and consider his place and level, he is no longer there in his original place. For by finding in him yet a little bit of good, some good point, and judging him favorably, we genuinely move him from the scale of guilt to the scale of merit. This is the explanation of you will reflect upon his place, and he will not be there. As explained above, understand this.
I saw Psalm 37 go by, and that is so not how the verse quoted reads in
Psalm 37, you said?
Yeah, 37:10 went
Yes.
by. And in the KJV, it does not speak to the it's
it may be one off because KJV, yeah, it would probably be 9. And
So
yeah.
it may be one off.
yeah, it's oftentimes
Verse
in
10.
Psalms one off because the first line in the Hebrew, which says of David, right? That oftentimes is not a separate verse. I don't know.
Mine's
I mean,
verse 10.
What? It is verse 10?
Mine's verse 10. It says, "For yet a little while, and the wicked shall be no more. Indeed, you will look carefully for his place, but it shall be no more." So it definitely reads different. Like I don't get the same impression, but I like what you read though. I mean,
Well, you have to understand when you have a Hasidic taich, a Hasidic explanation, it's always reading it in a way that isn't the normal way you would translate it.
Mm. I liked the way it was read. I liked the implications of it, that to search for. I was thinking, I wonder if that relates to the context of the story of the mustard seed. That who told that? Was that Jesus, or was it one of the epistles?
it is Jesus, I
I
think.
think it was Jesus talked about mustard seed and faith, right? And in some respects, I'm seeing elements of that here, saying when you look for that good, it doesn't. It's not that it has to be big to be of value. It can be the smallest grain of something good in somebody, and if you can see that, and that you, in a way, pointing that out, somehow seeing that in others elevates them. It's a challenge, you know.
It is a challenge.
This is my baby.
Hello. Must see face. Hello. I've
Happy,
never
happy.
actually seen more than
happy.
his tail.
Yeah, I know, Savvy.
Yes.
I like how you say thank you whenever she barks, right? She is it she?
Happy, say hi.
Hi, Happy.
Oh, happy. That's a face, yeah.
She's 80 pounds of scaredy cat.
How old is she again? I think you told me this. Before.
And
10. I love old dogs. They're so great. Well, I like all dogs, but when they get the gray on the face too, you're just like, oh, so wise.
I knew it was going to go to wisdom. Yes.
It has to. You just look at him and be like, I want to be just like you. You. I like how every time she barks too, you're like, thank you. And then she's got it. It's like, all right, did my job.
Yeah. I have spent some time over in Safaria reading some things, but probably not enough. If I do live to be 100, I shall not probably have mastered all of the things that are out there to be mastered or learned or read, or there's no way.
I'm not sure it's possible for a human being to actually read everything that's on Safaria. I'm really like not completely sure. Like an average human being, especially like all the Hebrew stuff.
No, I can't read it in Hebrew, and I'm very definitely average.
How do you come across it then? Do people just share what they like and then you find it or something? For the most part.
I mean, a lot of the stuff, like, so when it's like an ocean, like there are some rabbis who know a lot of things, but oftentimes, like, if I need to find something, I will have to, like, I'll go ask a rabbi or, you know. So I actually got to meet Rav Ovadia Yosef, and he was this absolute genius who, by the age of 25, it was just obvious he had a memory, like, which was crazy, like. And when Bar Ilan University, which is a university in Israel, was trying to develop a search engine for um, trying to find things, topics, right? So they would use his responsa, which are letters. Like people would write him a letter asking him questions, and he published several volumes of these answers, and they would use his responsa to check if the search engine was finding all of the places. Like I actually got to meet him once. Well, I
Wow.
got to meet him a couple of times, but I one Sabbath I was in the neighborhood where he lived, and he had services at his house, and I went there. I didn't expect to get called up to the Torah, but they called me up to the Torah, and he read it, and then he gave me a blessing. So yeah, Rav Ovadia Yosef, he passed away. Oof, must be like 10 years ago now.
Wow.
He died in 2013.
Wow.
Yep. He was 93.
Wow.
Gosh, I can't imagine.
This is his
Oh.
picture.
Oh man,
He
looks
didn't
classy.
always wear this
Oh, I like
the-
that outfit. He
yeah,
looks like he's
he
gonna
was known.
party.
So his eyes were he had to wear whatchamacallit. He had to wear
Red tint. Or are they two
yeah,
different?
because his eyes had gotten weak.
Yep.
So that's him as a baby, and then as a young man, and then let's see the pictures.
Do they?
That's cool. He got to bless you. That's really cool.
Yeah, yep.
Wow.
That's around the time. So I was in Israel in 2000. So this is from 2007.
Oh wow. I would love to go to Israel. That'd be so cool.
It was. I should go. I can't believe it's been 20 years since I was last in Israel.
We
And
should go back.
Chezi really loved Rav Ovadia Yosef. I'm joking. I'm kind of joking. Like, I'm sure Chezi respected him very much, but I'm not sure Chezi agreed with everything. Of course, Chezi doesn't agree with everything anybody says, except his grandfather.
Very important.
Yes.
Oh, I'm ashamed to say I had the chance to go to Israel around 1980, 81, somewhere in there, and did not go for a whole year. My ex-husband and I had the chance to go with, yes, a Christian pastor who was over there doing some stuff, and a whole year there would have been something, but no, we chickened out.
It's fair enough.
That's
I might.
okay.
You never
Jake's
know.
probably glad we didn't go because that would just be two more Christians over there bothering. the
Yeah,
Jewish-
it depends on what you're doing too. I don't know that I would go in that scenario either. Like I think I'd rather go just to see and experience it rather than go with like an agenda. I think that would kind of ruin the trip for me or something, you know. But maybe not. I don't know.
Chezi, I didn't know this at all. So have you guys heard of the Cairo Geniza?
No.
No.
Okay. So a Geniza is so for example, let's say once my Bible gets worn out and I want to throw it away. We don't actually throw away things that we actually bury them. So that's what a Geniza is.
Wait.
And there was a synagogue in Cairo that I forget how long ago. It was over 100 years ago. They discovered that they had a room where people would send all of the things that they that should have been buried, and actually people were putting a lot of stuff in there that even didn't even need to be buried, but anything that was like in Hebrew, like they were sending all that stuff there. And it was discovered, and it was this like really big room filled with ancient stuff. Well, included in the Cairo Geniza were actually things handwritten by Maimonides.
Whoa.
And yeah, and all kinds of stuff like that. And but it's huge. And I actually like there's a crowdsourcing project where you can go and try to like help identify and type things up. And I was able to, there was a page of Talmud that had been hand copied that was there, that was close enough and clear enough that I was able to actually transcribe the whole thing. But obviously it's not exactly like what we have now and stuff like that, right? But Chezi says that apparently they identified like a lot of the stuff because Rav Ovadia would take a look at it and he would be like, "This is from this page, and this is from that, and this is from."
That's
Which
crazy.
sounds like the type of thing Rav Ovadia would do.
Wow.
Dang. So what is
Yeah.
this idea where you bury stuff though? You just like there's a special place where you bury it, or like you
Cemeteries.
just, oh, okay. So just when you die, you bury.
Jewish cemeteries have places where they bury anything that's called shemus or shemot, right? That it has if it has one of the 7 ineffable names. I mean, not ineffable. The 7 names that cannot be erased, then it should not be thrown away. And a lot of things, even if they don't actually have names. So actually, I mean, I'm guessing like all the schoolwork from Chezi's kids, like he doesn't throw any of it away. All of it gets buried.
Wait, so yeah, so you bury it just whenever. It's not like when you die necessarily.
No, when you no longer want. So
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
it's as opposed to throwing it away, because
Yeah.
that's playing it. That's being disrespectful towards.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that idea. Yeah, because I have old Bibles like that. I mean, I think this is my 3rd one like this. I mean, they're all like these little leather ones, but I just put them in like storage after I'm done because they just.
Well,
Because sometimes, I mean, I still have them, and I like going through them. But sometimes it's just nice to start fresh because you get like I'll make notes in them and stuff too. So.
well, that's a Christian thing, I'm thinking, and I've been kind of questioning that, because that's how we were taught to remember things, is to write comments and thoughts and underline things and everything. And then
That seems like a nice practice to me.
is it? I hope so. I hope it's not considered defacing it, because there's a lot of things where I've thought deeply about it, and I've gone back and I've looked at things, or I've put a date beside it, or a comment or something.
Oh, that's beautiful. No, I still have my Talmuds from the year, and I they're all marked up. But that's the Talmud. But like, I don't know. I've never made notes in my Tanakh, but I also don't read my Tanakh very often, except. Yeah,
And it's like all yellow, all sorts of blue in there. It's just
Yeah.
Well, also,
but the
when
thing
you're
like
in synagogue, usually it's a holiday when you're not allowed to write anyway.
Really?
oh,
For the Tanakh?
No. On Jewish high holidays, you're not. Jewish Sabbath, one of the thing, there are 39 classes of prohibited types of creative work, and anything which resembles them, and all of those are prohibited to Jews, not to Gentiles.
Well, that's okay, good because I break them on both Sabbaths, Jewish and Christian. Not because I want to break them. It's just kind of how my life is ordered.
Yeah, it's strange to me that tzitzit get buried. I never quite understood that. So I have an old pair of tzitzit, and I supposedly use them as bookmarks, but I have them around, and I don't actually use them as bookmarks ever. But I'm like, that's the idea. Oh,
And that's
tzitzit are
the
the fringes.
yeah. So do you when do you wear those though, or do you just have them, or you wear them every Sabbath?
Well, so I when I was religiously observant, I wore a set at all times. I haven't I have a so there's two types. There's the what's called talit katan, which is the one you wear underneath your clothing, and then there's the gadol, which you wear over your clothing. And the 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 one you wear under your clothing, like I'm guessing Chazi wears his all day and night. Actually, most religious people do. Um, a lot of people, some people don't wear them when they sleep. I did. Um, and then the large one, actually, so Ashkenazim, so it's different liturgical things, but my tradition, we start wearing those as even as children, but Chazi's tradition, they don't start wearing those until they're married, and you only wear those usually in like at morning services when with your phylacteries and stuff like that. Yeah, but
That's
that's
really cool.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a holy thing. There's a lot of meaning in them. I would probably hang on to them too.
Is it okay to ask about you were speaking about the clothing worn with the layers? Is the only time that we speak in Christian church about the layers of clothing would be in relation to the priests, and speaking of like linen things and the outer garments and stuff. But would a Orthodox Jew in some traditions who are not rabbis or not sort of, does just everybody have different layers of clothing that are of different materials, or what are
No,
the
no. So men wear are supposed, I mean, they don't have to, but generally do wear tzitzit, the under one. And during the time of Jesus, it was common for rabbis to wear the over one at all times. And there are places in the where it appears that people are talking about Jesus wearing the talit gadol in the Christian Bible.
Really? Okay, I
Yeah.
did get the word gadol simply from my very brief foray into Aleph Bet, talking about all the, I'm going to sign now. The horses and the cows and the sheep and whether it's what's the baby word? It starts with a ch. Shoot, but I got gadol. That's the big one. Yes, or
Gadol means big. Yes.
so I wasn't sure, and that was something I had wondered about previously, was whether it meant big in size, big as in greater, big as in, various contexts. Okay, I figured.
There are very few Hebrew words actually, and like I think there's only yes, like so
Catan. You.
there's like only 3,000 different Hebrew words in the Bible. Yeah, so Chazi doesn't wear his talit when he sleeps or during sports or gym, because after all, he is a heretic.
I didn't know what he was referencing at first. I was like, no, Jim Schwartz. I was like, is this his
Very-
motto? What's going on here?
Yep.
Wearing tzitzit. When I wore tzitzit, I actually wore wool tzitzit all the time, which
Brutal.
yeah, was yeah. Well, I didn't mind. It was fine, but like
How large? They're just like small, like tassels, though, right? Is that kind of what they are?
no. You wear the tassels are just connected to the
Oh,
actual. Here, I'll
Visual aids.
Yeah. I don't know. So you wore a wool one all the time. Oh, okay, yeah.
So this is the large
Ah.
one.
Nice.
This is the large one.
Only $20. Wow, what a
Well,
bargain!
The kosher one.
What would
and
you do
then-
if I showed up to our next Bible study wearing that?
I
What would you
tell
do?
you cannot do that.
I
Don't
won't.
do it. Don't do it. No.
And
I'll
this,
tell you, you can't do that.
this is like the one that I wore. Well, actually, this is more like the one that I wore. And then the whatchamacallit, the tassels hang off the four sides. And it's funny that they're demonstrating somebody wearing one without tassels because that's completely forbidden, but I have no idea what this website is.
Huh.
Okay.
But that you wear that under something else or over?
So this is the large well, hold on. So this is the large one you wear over your clothes. Okay.
Okay.
And the one on the left is the one I have because I'm Sephardic, and the one on the right is like the one Chazi would have because he's Ashkenazi.
Mm.
And then Talit Katan. Where is this? That's a Talit Gadol. And there's a man wearing a Talit Katan, and you see the fringes, but the entire baguette is the rest of it.
So, oh, sorry, Sandy, you can go ahead.
You go. It's okay. Go ahead.
Well, I was
just-
going to ask the purpose for it's for remembrance, right? Is that what it says in the scripture?
That's what it says. Yes,
Okay.
you shall see them and remember.
Is it kind of? I mean, is it just kind of visual reminder, or is it kind of like the Catholics have the rosary or something too? You're like supposed to do something with it every day.
No.
or okay.
It's just a visual reminder.
See.
So, is the wearing of this not layout, whatever you call it, the garment of this, somehow in remembrance also of the temple and of God and of how and why it was built? Because I feel like there's something with the four corners, and therefore significance to the having.
There's a lot of symbolism, and there's all kinds of. The Bible itself says you shall see them and remember. And I forget what exactly it says you should remember. I'm not sure if it says. I forget. I should remember these things, but I don't. I'm a bad person. And people have started. Oh, do you wear techhalets, Leslie? The blue of the tzitzit is like the blue of the sea, and the blue of the sea is like the blue of the heavens. Yes, but that's from the Midrash. I don't believe that's not from the Bible itself. And people have started wearing blue again since people now the Temple Institute claims to have rediscovered the blue, but like that's still controversial whether or not putting on the blue. And generally, it's a bunch of Zionists. God have mercy on their souls. Who wear the blue.
Huh. It's interesting. I got one here on my hat.
A
It's
tassel.
not quite. Yeah, one of the little girls in India tied it on there, and she said, "Don't ever take it off." And I was like, "All right, I won't." So it's on there. I guess
You do whatever little girls in India tell you to do.
Yeah, she's a
And he
gem, man.
hasn't managed to find a wife.
This girl, her smile, guys, and she smiles, she just like lights up the entire world. This little girl, it's just she was something special. But yeah, she's just fun too. Like I was there, and she'll just come sit by you and just sit by
Sounds
you,
like she's
just
too
hang out.
young for you, though, Jason.
Way too young, gosh. Yeah.
My mother's second husband was 20 years older than her. He was lovely. Of course, she was in her 50s when they married, but don't wait that long for this little girl, okay?
I'm not gonna marry her. My gosh, that's gross.
I'm just
This is.
I'm just
I don't mean to say
implying that if
that.
you wait till she's 50, that's going to be quite a while from now.
That was. I
What
feel
did
like
I tell
Simon-
you? Chezi wears the blue. He's a Zionist. God
The one I
have
want
mercy.
to buy, we could be matching. We'll be Twinkies. I might get that $20 one. No, I'm not.
Oh.
Don't worry. I'm not gonna do it. I'm just joking. I just want to be like Hezzy.
Everybody wants to be like Hezi.
I'll get that.
I like the
Who
saying.
doesn't want to be like Hezi?
This is true.
Do you want to be like Hezzy, Jacob?
I would love to be like Hezi.
Really?
I try very, very, very hard not to be envious of Hezi.
I want
And
to
I
be like
fail
you,
off.
Jacob. I'm envious of you. What color did you wear? You didn't wear the blue?
No. I actually
You
looked
should just-
into it, and I think it's problematic. Not that you guys care, but
Why would you think we don't care?
well, not so like the details of why I think it's problematic, but Maimonides seems to think that if you don't have the proper blue, it should be the same color. The tassels should be the same color uh, as the main thing itself, and so he it's questionable whether, according to his opinion, if you don't have the correct blue, if you're fulfilling the commandment of wearing the white. And so because of that, Chabad generally does not wear blue.
And I love the comment that we just looked at about the blue, of the sea and the blue of the heavens. But what is it actually? Is that related to it? Or is that just
Well, that's what I believe it's from the Midrash. It might be the Talmud says that that's what it's for, but I mean, the Bible just says blue. And the question is I mean, Jews stopped wearing blue because we didn't have the dye that was used, and so people just wore white. But now people have tried to recover the blue, and there is a blue dye which the Temple Institute, which is funded by a bunch of rabid Zionist Christians, um, the Temple Institute claims to have discovered the exact blue, and they sell a blue dye that a lot of people use these days, but that's only become very popular over the past 20 to 30, 40 years.
I hope there's some truth in that, and they're not just copying the Christians with holy water. I hope that's true. It would be nice.
Oh, I mean, the Temple Institute, there are credible rabbis and stuff who work there, but Christian money has been really affecting politics and the Jewish community in general, because they will fund all kinds of things, and they have a lot more money than the religious Jewish community, and so I am not happy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm never happy, so what else is new?
What do you mean the holy water thing, like where Christians were selling?
Oh, early in the wee, like this time of the night for me, preachers.
come on the TV and
I
sell
will
the
pray
Lord.
for you if you just send me so much
yeah.
money for a free gift of
I
blah
think
blah
I know what
blah.
you're talking about.
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
thing is, too, if you
that's
actually see, to me though, if I was actually thought I was going to be purchasing holy water, I don't know that I would do it, because if you actually read Numbers, I'm like, why would you? When they give that girl the holy water, I'm like, that's some terrifying stuff right there, with the spirit of jealousy coming on a man. They give her you know what I'm talking about, Jacob? And they make her drink the holy water that brings the bitter water that brings a curse, and her
No,
belly
no,
will
no.
swell and her thigh will rot.
That's
yeah,
not that kind of holy water.
yeah. That's not
Isn't that?
holy.
It's not holy water. I thought it said it was holy water somewhere.
No. God's
No.
name is erased in that water.
Is what in that water? God's name is
Erased.
Oh, is erased.
Yeah, they put a paper in it with God's name in it, and God's name gets erased, and then she drinks it.
Yeah, but wouldn't that make it holy if you're putting God's name in it? No. Oh, it's the opposite.
Erasing God's name is not something we do.
How-
If the Bible didn't say, Rashi says the gematria of tzitzis is 600, and each tassel has 8 threads and 5 sets of knots for a total of 613, according to Wikipedia. Yeah, that's a common thing people say. What do you mean Rambam blue?
Ooh, what is that?
Rambam blue. Oh, you mean you use the Rambam ties? Wow. God, so like you, Hezi.
What color blue is this? Is this like turquoise, or is this like a
No, he's talking about something else. He's talking about the number of ties. So let me find tassels.
See, you asked for Bible study, Jacob, and you've got all of this wisdom coming at you.
I know I had another question, but I forgot it now. Can't remember what it was.
What was I doing? Okay, so there are different ways of tying the tassels, and what you do with the blue, and of course, Chezi takes the shortest one because that's what Chezi always does. No, actually, so according to that, number 7. Yeah. Oh, I thought you were doing the Amram Gaon. Okay. So he says Rambam. So all twists are Techelet except for the first and the last. Okay. Where were we? Which tradition is which? Why don't they tell me? Various opinions. It doesn't say which one's which. So I'm guessing this is number 1. Yeah, that looks like it's Chabad. Number 2 is one understanding of the Rambam. Number 3 is the Vilna Gaon. Number 4 is the Chinuch. Number 5 is the Ravid. Number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's Amram Gaon. That's the one I guessed he did. And number 7 is the Rambam. So that's the one all the way on the right is apparently the one Chezi wears.
I like that one. It's nice. I think I might give me some of those
So
too.
he only takes them out during prayers. He wears them tucked in.
See, nice. I got a question for both of you. Kind of off topic. What's your favorite color?
I'm not sure I have a favorite color. I wear a lot of browns and grays, but I also like greens and blues. But like, probably my favorite color is burgundy. But like, I don't know. I also I mean I like teal.
You're just gonna pick all the colors? What's going on here?
I like all the colors. Why would I pick a favorite color? Like all the colors.
My favorite color is rainbow.
Yes.
Just kidding.
When I was a child, I always said my favorite color was green because I liked living things. But as an adult, if you look at a lot of, aside from what I wear for work and wearing this shirt because somebody I, when friends with, made it, My favorite colors to wear are blue, green, blue, greens, teal, like Jacob. I also look okay in red, but my favorites are blues, greens, and I had a lovely almost Jacob painted the
Not me, her son Jacob.
my son. Yes, he does not come and paint anything for me. Trust me. I have not painted anything in here. I am living in beige, whatever this color is. But when we had our house, a lot of the rooms were upstairs were all painted blue, and my bedroom was done in a kind of a pool blue. And I forget what Jacob did his in. But anywho, yeah.
I
That's
am
cool.
getting
Tired?
kind of tired and thinking of going home. You're welcome to take this over, Jason, but
I'll probably go too. It's 2 a.m. here, so plus I gotta pee
Hey,
really bad.
same here, 2:06 right now.
Yeah,
We must
nice.
be in the same
nice.
time zone.
Wait, so where are you located? If you don't mind sharing, or if you don't want to share that on here, that's fine.
I'm in Ontario.
Okay. I
Kind
thought
of
you were in Canada, but I wasn't sure what
Toronto
part.
area-ish.
Okay. My grandfather actually has like a small little island he owns in Canada, but I haven't been up there in a very long time.
Seriously, if you ever come to Canada, take me and show me your island.
I
That is
would love to go.
Never ever known anybody who owned I know of rich people who own islands, but I've never actually known anybody normal that because
Well,
I mean,
It's-
Canada has so many
It's-
islands.
it's
I
like
mean,
maybe an acre. Like I mean, it's not like I think he bought it a long time ago when it was really cheap too. But it's got like I think a little cabin on it. It's like an acre. I mean, it's super nice, but
Canada has how many islands? Like,
one
we're
or
not
two.
talking. Like, have you seen Canada? Like, it's all islands. It's like islands.
We got a lot of water. It's true.
And a lot of snow.
Snow. Not as much snow as we should have. The polar bears are going to start migrating south. It's getting too warm up there.
Northern hemispheres, dude. He's right. Ryan is from down under.
Yes, it still gets very cold up here, but not cold enough that the Inuit are not concerned. I remember talking to a neighbor where we used to have our house, who had spent a lot of time up in the far north and said some of the elders up there could tell you if you were interested in knowing where certain things from the First and Second World War are buried that you really don't want to come out of the melt. And I was like, what? Yeah.
Wow.
Submarines, stuff like that.
159 islands for sale.
Whoa, let's get one. Are they cheap? How much are they?
Roe Rock, Ontario.
Where?
Oh, in Ontario. We could be neighbors.
Island, Ontario.
How much is it?
But that's for rent. That's not for sale.
Oh no.
Oh,
Yeah.
we need one for sale.
$1,000 for 3 nights, 3 days, 4 night package.
So
Start at $118 per night.
Yep. I hate to tell you who's buying up a lot of the north right now. People like your grandpa coming up and around from Michigan.
He lives in he's lived there his whole as long as I've known him in Crown Point, Indiana. So he's kind of more up north, but I mean he still lives in Crown Point. I don't think he's ever going to move to Canada. I can't remember when he bought it or why, but he basically goes up there. It tries to go up at least once a year, during the summer and stuff.
$600,000 for 35% of of an island, but this is in Florida. That's
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Houses in my area have in the 2 years of COVID inflated from about 300 and something thousand to anywhere between 600 and $1 million.
Yeah, it's freaking
11-acre island
Ridiculous.
in Nova Scotia, only $68,000.
There we go. All right. Let's do
We
it.
could do this, Jason.
All right, let's do it. Let's go in. 11 acres. Nice.
11 acres.
World
Okay.
famous Chester Yacht Club.
Do also remember to check the winter weather on the East Coast.
Subdivisible, this parcel might become a roomy family compound ground for the only hotel or campground on the island, or
There you go.
sailing destinations. Oh, apparently it's not the entire island though.
Oh, whoa, that looks nice though.
It
Nice.
does.
It's actually fairly beautiful up here. A lot of nice places.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I've only been, like I said, I've only ever been twice, but I remember loving Canada when I was up there. I thought it was really pretty.
Yeah.
I like
Lot of
places like
rocks.
that. Hey, so have you seen Bigfoot up there though?
No, not recently. It's been a while.
All right, but I'm being serious here. You know, we're talking about satyrs. Bigfoot.
Apparently he lives over in BC.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does he really?
I don't know. I've heard this.
Okay.
60-acre lagoon property, $83,000.
Whoa. Oh, in Belize, Central America. Nice. Oh man. Yeah, so when we went to Honduras this past year, the people we contacted down there, they had, I mean, their setup was so sweet, and it's just like, you know, so much cheaper. They just bought it, and then they have like all these tropical fruit trees growing all over the place, all over their property. They could see like the ocean from their house and everything. Like, man, just gotta go to South America, buy an island.
Gillis Island, $110,000. 11 acres. This
Wow.
seems like
You're not
the
thinking big
entire
enough.
island.
Not thinking what?
We
What'd
should
you
buy
say?
it.
What'd you say, Sandy? We're not
I
thinking what?
said you're not thinking big enough. People in the chat are telling you to go buy Australia. Or maybe you can work. Maybe we can work our way up to that.
Australia's too expensive though, right? That's why we gotta go.
You buy enough small islands first.
Yeah. I mean, you
Paddle
can
to
basically
the island in under 10 minutes.
paddle. Wait, we would paddle to the island?
Apparently,
That's
you have
funny.
to paddle to the island. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
Not
if
that
it
you're-
has a river that goes all the way through it, doesn't that technically make it 2 islands?
I hope it's like you're not you have to paddle. Like they give you a paddle boat or something, like with the pedals. You have to use this.
I don't know. Motorized
Yeah.
vehicles might not be allowed.
That looks all right to me. I would live there,
Oh.
maybe. I don't know. I've never been there before. That's in Belize. That one still, I guess. I don't know.
No, this is in Canada.
Oh, that is. Oh,
Yeah,
there we go.
This is a private island, Prince Edward Island, Canada.
Whoa, sounds fancy.
Wait, Gillis Island?
You know that. You know that place.
No, I just feel like that.
You've paddled there before.
Oh, sure. No. Oh, God, no. That was one of my places of shame with Jack. He was an avid paddler. And me and canoes, no. I don't have the arm strength for it. We can get directions for how to get
It's
there.
an 11-acre island. It's only $10,000 an acre.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Gillis Island.
You should definitely buy it, Jason.
Okay, and set up a yurt. Like, what is it? I watched some video with
A commune for
Machu Picchu.
our little thing.
Ooh, Dead
A lot
Man
of these
Bay.
islands are sold.
Yeah. Cockroach Bay,
Quebec
that one.
Island Reserve, 5 acres, 140,000.
What's that? Lake Nipissing Island? Nipissing? That one's a fun name.
Lake
Down one.
Nipissing?
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah. Sold.
Oh man.
of course
Bad.
it is. Lake Nipissing.
Lake Nipissing.
An island in Minnesota, 5 acres, almost $1 million.
Dang. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, I have an uncle too that lives in Florida who bought. I think he's got an acre in the Bahamas on some island where he bought it like years and years ago as well.
Jason, you got a fan. Gonna start a GoFundMe for you.
Oh wait. Oh,
Private island.
right. Oh, nice. Canadian mysteries. Ooh, that sounds great. Yeah, we'll definitely have Bigfoot there then.
Should invite him.
Invite
you-
Ryan. Oh, invite Bigfoot. Yeah.
Yeah, you
He's
really
fun.
should.
All right. All right. I'll put out some. I don't know. Have a seance. I don't know how to get him there. We'll figure it out.
Pretty sure you only have seances for things that are dead.
So they're dead.
Don't recommend it anyways. And
We'll summon Bigfoot to my island.
yeah.
Ryan says, "Buy all of Australia. Go big or go home."
Yep.
All right, guys. I probably gotta hop off here. I gotta pee. So.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm gonna go too.
I work at 7 a.m. and get up at 5:30-ish, supposedly, at least in theory. So this was
Go to
fun.
bed.
This was
Good
fun.
night,
Oh,
people.
if I don't have a Merry Christmas, if I don't talk to you guys again, too, by the way. So.
Thanks.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, all that jazz. And don't forget to schedule the next Bible study.
Okay, did you want to do it next week or?
I can if you want to do it.
I think I'm free. I don't know that I have anything, so I can schedule it. I guess I don't. I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure I'm free. I don't know.
I have a discussion at 3 with whatchamacallit on my channel. But
What day works better for you? Tuesday or Wednesday next week?
You know what? I think let's just go ahead and switch it to Wednesdays.
Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. I think
at
I'm
the
free.
same time, I'll still pop in when I can.
All right. Yeah.
It's
Cool.
after my writing group, so I'm
Sure,
sitting
we'll-
here anyway.
And
We'll
broad
plan on that. All right.